ancient Celtic Catholics created landscapes called Cillíns. These were patches of earth dedicated to the burial of those deemed not worthy of being buried in the churchyard, the ones to be hidden away, the shadows of a society. The Western Church has continued this practice today, only the burials are not physical but repressive, using its influence to shun pieces of the person. In this meditation on Good Friday, you are invited into the Cillín, a space ushering you toward the haunting task of acknowledging the shunned and suffering pieces of yourself, the pieces buried away from the ego that wants to be presentable. It is going to these out-of-the-way spaces that we find a divine voice inviting us toward all of ourselves, the suffering and the saintly, a task accessing the heart of Good Friday, a day acknowledging the fullness of death. Take some time to breathe in the picture and immerse yourself in the setting of the Cillín. Dark clouds, gray sky, Irish landscape of rain and swift wind. It is spring, and the greens erupt, contrasting with the colorless horizon. Your jacket is bellowing and blown. Your hat has flown off one too many times, so you hold it by your side, your hair fluttering. An old church is off in the distance. You came here from there, where stone crumbles from wall and half-faced angels graze the courtyard. Time and element is working away form, bit by bit, into formlessness. The ground beneath you is moss and grass covered. The moss cakes sporadic rock. The grass sways. You are in a bordered space, loosely. Around you is a tiny rock parameter acting like a gate, old and faulty, but enough form to warrant intention at some point. You are standing in the Cillín, where the Celts hid the dead they wished not to see, the ghosts that haunted their social spheres, the ones denied proper burial on the basis of their supposed unworthiness. Large stone is scattered. You assume them to be graves. The unbaptized, the shipwrecked sailors, the unwed mothers, the criminals, the ones the church wished to be out of sight, the ones left to be nameless, lie beneath this soil. They are lost to time, holding an identity cloaked of shame and buried, to not be acknowledged. Back near the church are graves of name and date. But out here, anonymity cloaks itself with the earth. It is here, seated by the sea in a far-off place, The rest, the ones not deemed worthy of the churchyard, were laid to rest, placed in out-of-the-way spaces to keep them from the eyes of the holy. Life has a habit of making Cillíns of pieces of us, and churchyards too. We are full of ghosts we choose to remember and ones we are forced to bury and repress. Good Friday is a day of remembrance for the uninvited and the dark, the pieces hidden away from view. Standing here amidst the outcast, you cannot help but ask yourself, what is in your Cillín? What pieces and parts of you have laid to rest and have been hidden from view? What do you keep from being seen? What was forced out of the churchyard? What does your ego act like is not there? What are the false fronts of righteousness we all so desperately wear the masks of? What is buried in the out-of-the-way spaces of who we are? Rain falls, and the landscape sits. Your journey is toward your own landscape. Memory of false fronts, the lies spouted saying that you cannot be you in certain places, the lie that presentation is of more importance than your full personhood. The churchyard saying that who you are as you fully and unabashedly are is not who you are supposed to be. The family or the friends or school or sphere that believe those lies and force them onto you. Arising now. The hurt and the haunt that you cast away, out in the field, away from the day to day. In this place of brutal bounty, in this still space, you are invited back to spaces you desperately don't want to go. The space you cast to the outside. But you are here, standing in the Cillín. And these pieces are at your feet. What might surface? Stretching through time and space, all the sufferers of the ages arrive. An army beyond eyesight. Their arms are outstretched on crosses in their agony and pain, and they are with you here. And they whisper, I am what you are most afraid to see and acknowledge. Your deepest, most wounded and naked self. I am what you do to what you could love. I am what you are most afraid to see and acknowledge. Your deepest, most wounded and naked self. I am what you do with what you could love. The wind swoops fast. The chill shoots through your skin. Shame fumbles forward onto the floor. Rocks serving as unmarked graves of all that we choose not to look at and see are right here before you. But a shift. On the ground amidst the rock is a slight yellow. Flower painting over memory. Outstretched arms and suffering full, the Christ sees no need to separate that which we wish not to be a part of who we are from the supposed sanctified elements of our person. The Christ, the full-bodied story, the all-incorporative and the all-loving, the narrative of endless continuity and creativity, whatever name you want to attribute to all of these themes, sits here in the Cillín. As yellow flower alongside the stone. Sits in the landscape beyond, sits in the churchyard, sits in all space, weaving. And you are not bit by bit or fragment, but landscape with landmark of varied structure, source, and form. Your landmarks stretch from churchyard to Cillín to all space in between, and your landscape is a story that leaves out no part, but erupts each with full-bodied love and incorporation for who you are. The wind howls. You are still. And you look down to the earth, moss and grass abundant, and bit by bit, flowers everywhere. There is something being born here, and the forgotten and the not exist.